how do you optimize the chances of not only getting into college, but paying the least amount of money out of pocket? So today I'm going to go over the Bulletproof College Planning Masterclass. I myself went through the process of applying to a number of different schools and went to Columbia University, which is one of the top ranked schools in the country. And in the process of doing that, I realized that there's so much misinformation out there about how college planning works and about how to optimize not only your chances of getting in, but also how on the financial side you make sure that it's a worthwhile investment. So before I even get into any of that, there are two key points that anyone who's thinking about applying to college and going in that direction should consider. The first is that college is a business, and it's an absolutely ruthless business. When you look at all the rankings and the amount of money that is in college endowment funds, and also the fact that colleges, banks, and governments are all linked together in a triumvirate at the highest level. And what are they essentially trying to do? They're trying to extract money out of Americans and people all around the country and funnel that into their pockets while, supposedly peddling an education, which frankly, 99% of the time, it's just garbage what all these colleges are teaching. So the second aspect to, considering whether or not college is right is, if college is a business and you're going to apply to college and potentially even finance that and go into debt, what skills are you going to acquire to support future business endeavors or life goals? And that is a very tangible cost that must be considered before applying. There's a lot of people who apply and just get into college and go because it's the American dream that we've all been sold. And 50 years ago that may have worked, but when you consider inflation now, across the board, and also the inflation in the cost of what it takes to attend a 4-year college, it's absolutely insane in terms of the negative ROI when people are weighed down with all this debt when they don't have any skills to show for it, except for binge drinking and learning, socialism and feminism and, God knows what else they're teaching these days. So as far as when someone's going to apply to college, think about, if I'm going to get this education, what are the tangible skills that will actually make me money or further advance my career? And so if it's hard sciences, potentially math or engineering or something like that, that's pretty tangible, and that can be used tangibly afterwards, computer science. So there's certain things of that nature that college is good for. There's also trades. That's another very possible path, and different types of apprenticeships where you actually shadow people who have a tangible skill, and by being around them, you also acquire those same tangible skills. So those are really the best pathways. And in terms of the financial side, we'll talk more about this later, but when you're optimizing your chance of paying the least amount of money, for an education, the best way to do that is really to run your own business after college. So as far as the three key aspects when applying for any education that colleges are going to look at, they're going to take a look at the students applying and rank them based on their academics, their social and activities that they have on their resume, and then the financial piece of the equation. So these are the three aspects that colleges are going to look at. And when it comes to academics, it's fairly self-explanatory. It's about getting good grades. So whether that's advanced placement classes or whether it's IBs, if that's the system that you're in, and also maximizing the difficulty of those classes. That is what the academic portion of what colleges are considering, is required. And when it comes to academics, it's not the only thing that matters. So I see people that are trying to get perfect grades across the board, and then even on the SATs and ACTs and all these different tests score perfect grades. And that's great, but that's been proven at this point that that's not the only thing that schools care about. So definitely, put in enough of an effort, I would say, to get good grades. But really, it's not about just optimizing for a result in the classroom. It's about how are you growing as a person over time. So grades matter, but not maybe to the extent that you would think they do in certain cases. So the second aspect is your social life and social activities, and this definitely matters. Colleges want to see that you're not just a robot in the classroom, that you have a life, that you have different things going on for you, activities, volunteering, sports, clubs, anything like that. And the more skilled you are in a very niche specific area, the more likely it's going to help you later on. So in my case, I was a varsity athlete. I played squash, and that actually helped me get into Columbia University because at the time their varsity team was just starting, and so they were looking for players to stack their roster. So sports are one way to get you into the door to some elite institutions, and certain elite types of clubs, people are very skilled at. I used to play chess as well, so I know they're very good chess players that have paved their way into top schools as a result of that. There's other types of clubs and activities that also have very prestigious competitions, and again, those are things that colleges are looking for to show that the applicant is well-rounded. So as far as maximizing your chances, the academic and the social will definitely cover that. But then there's the financial piece. Because a lot of the times kids will get into a number of schools, but then if you have to pay this astronomical fee out of pocket, is it worth it? And especially these days, the last I checked for some of the top universities, we're seeing cost of admission per year in the $80,000 to $90,000 a year range for some of the most expensive schools. And it goes without saying that that's just absurd. No matter what kind of skill set that you could possibly get from an undergraduate degree, that kind of money, if you're paying $250,000 plus out of pocket, it's really going to be very difficult to pay that back on any kind of job. So as far as the financial side, colleges are essentially looking at every applicant and trying to see, okay, how can we maximize the amount of money that we can take from this family while still getting them to go here? So if a student has a lot of very strong academics and very specialized things that they're good at, they're probably going to be fielding offers from a number of colleges. And at that point, you can get colleges competing against each other to offer you grants, to offer you scholarships, and other things where you can lower that out-of-pocket cost. But even let's say you have average grades and you have some fairly decent activities on your resume, maybe it's not enough to get colleges competing over you. There are still very concrete ways to lower your out-of-pocket costs, either significantly or eliminate it entirely. So the way that that's done is colleges are going to look based on a formula at the household income of the student that's applying. So, students are under the age of 18, so they're in the household of parents, which is probably anyone who's watching this video. And so the colleges on the FAFSA form, and there's also a few other forms depending on the school, but the FAFSA is the primary form that colleges are going to use to determine what is the financial status of this household that's applying. So they're going to take stock of all your household assets. There's certain exclusions involved. So one is your primary home mortgage residence, and another one that a lot of people out there talk about is insurance policies. So things like annuities and life insurance premiums in those policies are excluded from the calculations. So there's a lot of financial people and college planning people out there who will only give those two options as ways to hide money from the FAFSA form and these other forms. But really, it's going to be the Bulletproof trust that's really going to set the foundation for shielding your assets from these forms. So the Bulletproof trust, otherwise known as the 508c1a trust or the private common law irrevocable ecclesiastical trust, this vehicle, this business entity has been shown where you can grant your assets to this entity, and now on paper you can own nothing, and hopefully you won't even have any income in your name. So if you run a business and that's your household income, you can completely shield that business income entirely within one or multiple trusts. So the idea is that on the college formula, when they're asking what do you own and what does your household own, well, if you can take all your assets out of your household balance sheet, now you can show them nothing. We own nothing. And again, ideally, if you're not W-2 income, if you are, business income household, now you can completely shield that in a trust. And so you could literally say on your FAFSA form that your household earns nothing. that your student is indigent. You're living on the poverty line by God's grace, which is what any Christian should be doing. And so if that's really the case, now colleges will see that and they'll see, wow, this student has good academics. They have good social life, but they have no money. So we need to now take money out of our pockets and support this disadvantaged student to help them, be able to attend our institution. And that is when you'll have institutions opening up their pocketbooks left and right for grants, for full scholarships. I mean, they will just be throwing money at you. Now, let's say hypothetically that there's still, even after all that, there's still going to be an out-of-pocket cost, and then maybe you'd have to consider taking loans. Here's the most insidious thing about the matrix when it comes to student loans, is that all these students, young people who have their whole lives ahead of them, are completely hoodwinked by ignorance into thinking that this student loan debt is theirs and that they own it. And so it weighs down their soul as they're entering the job market and as they're starting their life and as they're, hopefully trying to think about starting a family, which again is really not happening for most people these days. And so they consider that when they take on all this debt to finance their education, which they were told to get and usually didn't plan well at all, now they have this debt and they think, oh, I have this debt, so it's on me to pay it back or else. And then you have these people like Dave Ramsey who scare you and shame you into thinking, oh, that's your debt, you better pay it back or you're not a good person. So all of this is absolutely garbage, and this mindset is really the first thing that needs to be corrected, because if you're a student and you take on student loan debt, that debt is on a business entity. It's on your social security number, your straw man, 9 digits. That is a business entity that now has a lien on it, given to you by these companies that are issuing debt. And don't feel bad that they issued you that debt, because guess what? This is all money that's being printed. As I said earlier, it's the triumvirate between colleges, banks, and the government. They all make it super easy for young people to obtain multiple six figures in debt, because they want to make money in fees and just financing and on all of the various downstream, profiteering that's involved in this industry. So when you understand the same game that they're playing, that they're big business, they're elite business owners, and you need to operate the same way, now we can acquire debt strategically on a person. And then in an ideal world, going back to what I was saying earlier, if we can start earning money through a business, now your person will have debt, so your person will have a lien against it. And usually the way student loans work is they're income-based repayment plans. And that's the unique thing about student loans, which a lot of other loans are not like that. And so because of that, there's a unique opportunity where students can take out a large amount of loans, however much they want, in their name. And so now that loan is now attached to their name. And in future, let's say they graduate college, they get some great skills, maybe in sales or in something else, and they start earning money in a business as a contractor. So they're 1099, they get paid directly by a client, and they start earning money. Now you can start earning money, right after college, continue to grow that business and support yourself. Meanwhile, that lien, that student loan, is against your person, but your person is not making any money. Because that business income, if you're smart, you're using a private trust, so that income never shows up on your person. And now as a student, what you can basically do is you can take a loan against your person, and then in perpetuity, that loan will never be paid back, because guess what? If you do things a smart way, you'll just never earn money in your person ever. That's simple. And so now your person will be poor and indigent their whole life, according to the on paper at least. And so student loan companies, they'll on paper see, oh wow, this person's not earning any money, so how can we ask them to pay us back when they're not earning anything? And that's how this game works, as far as the chess play of being able to acquire debt strategically and then use that debt to acquire skill sets that then allow you to do business in the world and do it in such a way that where you're not weighed down by it and not burdened by it. And that is where so many people are just hoodwinked, just acting like slaves and thinking that debt is theirs, and then just partying away in college and not getting any skills. And that's where this student loan crisis comes from, and all the different problems that then stem from that, trying to build a life. So as parents, who are involved in this process and planning for college. If you want to learn more about college planning and just how trusts work and how we integrate that with other financial products to create cash flow, then you can join the school community that I created, which is linked in the bio. And in there, I answer questions, and we have a lot more videos and modules on how you can start setting up a strategy to protect yourself. And if you want my personal help on this, then you're more than free to reach out to me in there as well. And for everyone else, as you're starting to consider the college process, just don't listen to what the mainstream is saying, because these people are all sheep and they're just telling you how to act like everyone else and just get very average, mediocre outcomes. If you're looking to get elite outcomes, then you need to think differently. You need to think like the elites do. And that is what this process is all about. So I look forward to seeing many of you in the next one, and good luck in your college planning endeavors.